And we remain vigilant and diligent at keeping track of our budget, of what our expenses are, of course, but also what our sources of income are. Each budget year and each cycle, of course, creates a tremendous amount of anxiety and angst for those people who work very hard to create the budget. And there's always a lot of conversation as to whether we need to put a floor number out there that to be a member of our congregation, there's a minimum amount of money that you need to give, and there's a lot of discussion about that. The prevailing view of our board has been that we do not want to return to the traditional dues model. We do not want to ever get back to that situation where we have to create abatements for individual families. However, we are, of course, concerned about the sustainability of our model. In preparation for this year's budget cycle, we ran the numbers of the last 3 years to get a feel for how many of our member units are currently giving at the sustaining number and how many of them are staying at that number and or dropping below that number. So for 2016-17, this current budget year, we have 115 member units at or above the sustaining level, and that was a drop of 6 units from the previous year. We were at 121 for 2015-16, and just by way of comparison or point of reference, for 2014-15, we were at 118 member units. Of those 6 that decreased that we lost essentially in between 2015 and 2016. 2 of them moved out of the community, 2 were deceased, and there were another 3 that indicated they were unhappy with one aspect or another of the synagogue. We also gained 4 new members who came in at the sustaining level or above during that period. So the net was a decrease of 6 units in that level. The overall income, though, from that 115 families was an increase of $10,000 over the previous year of the 121 units. We took a look also as to what the age range was and where our members who are staying at the sustaining and going up the sustaining level, where they're coming from. For 2016-17, again, we have 115 units that are at the sustaining level. 15 of them are in their 40s, 44 of them are in their 50s, 41 of them are in the 60s. So the bulk of that 115 units that are at the sustaining are in between their 40s and their 60s. We have nobody under 40 giving at the sustaining level, and then we have 15 people giving in their 70s, 80s, and 90s at the sustaining level. And that to me is one of the highlights or the benchmarks of what I think of as the success of the program and how this aligns with who we want to be and our values. First and foremost, we want our conversations with our members, with the community, and with potential members to not be focused on money. We want it to be focused on value and level of program and level of service. We want people to engage with us and discuss with us what their values are, if their values align with what our programmatics are and who we are, and if it's a good match. We don't want the first conversation to be, here's what the dues are, and do you need an abatement? So we're very pleased with that piece of it. Secondly, we want every single member, whether they're in their 90s or whether they're in their 20s, to think that they have a stake in the future of our congregation, and that by having a stake in staying at the sustaining level, that it helps the community grow and remain healthy. We want each member to feel known and valued, and we believe that this method aligns with that value for us as well. That by replacing the conversation to be about money, but rather to be about value, where does this fit in your family's budget? Where does this fit in where your priorities are? That's the kind of conversation we want to be having with our members and our prospective members and the community at large. I think the biggest takeaway for any congregation considering this is just the diligence that needs to happen to keep an eye on this, to keep an eye on your statistics, to keep an eye on, are there more members who are valuing what you are offering and voting with their pocketbooks in a way that is consistent with that value, and that those members who are unable to, that they also remain committed to and feel valued and known by your community. And that's the diligent part that we all aspire to, and that everyone in our staff and on our lay leadership feels is the most important role that we have to play in terms of thinking about the sustainability of our congregation. I'd be happy to discuss this with anybody in the audience. I'm sure our financial team would as well, and I appreciate the time that you gave me today. Thank you.